Not done with you guys. The youth versus experience is certainly going to be a big thing. Obviously, the Saints, the two-time defending champions, have been here before. Do you think nerves maybe might play a role here on the Philadelphia team? And can the Saints, on the other hand, kind of take advantage of the experience of, being here so many times?
I think experience does definitely play a role in a high-pressure game like this. But Philadelphia is such a bonded team of skilled players that they just support each other. So if one man is feeling down, Alex Pitts is there to bring him up. I think Philly will prevail in the mental game as well.
All I have to say about experience, Calgary has won 2 championships, Philadelphia's. This is their first time in the finals. Philadelphia won in overtime. Experience won't matter here with these kids. They have nerves of steel.
And they have the tight bond needed to win it all.
Absolutely, and one final question for you guys here before we send it over to our commentators for today's game, Mike Peden and Howard Luloff. And this, of course, the million-dollar question. First, we'll start with you, Roddy. What's your pick in this game?
I predict a Philly win of 4-2.
I'm not going to pick a score, and maybe this is me just being a little bit bitter, but I think this is the first time that teamwork finally prevails and beats the one single-man show. I think Philadelphia wins this one.
Let's see, Dean. Let's see.
Absolutely. So interesting. 2 guys going with the youngsters here in this game. 2 picks for Philadelphia. We heard Roddy going with a 4-2 win for the Philly power play, and then we had Dean Olivas picking Philadelphia but not giving us a score, saying this will be the first time that teamwork will prevail over the superstar Chad Wilson. So some interesting picks from those guys. We'll hear from them between periods coming up here on our broadcast of the Power Cup 2014. We'll now head on over to Mike Peden and Howard Luloff, see if they have any brief pregame thoughts before we get ready to go. And let's turn it on over to our commentators for today's game. Mike Peden, Howard Luloff. Take it away, guys.
Thank you, Brett Johnson. I'm Mike Peden. He's Howard Luloff. Welcome to the legendary Roy Wilkins Auditorium. Minnesota Saints and Philadelphia Power Play battling for the 2014 Power Hockey Cup. Minnesota looking to make this their 3rd consecutive Power Hockey Championship, winning the last 2. Philadelphia looking for their 1st. Howard, this is going to be a meeting between the top 2 offenses in the 8-team tournament. How is that going to play out?
Well, they're 2 very outstanding teams who breezed through the tournament, and they got some high-powered offenses led by Jake Saxton of Philadelphia, leading scorer in the tournament. But the player to watch for Minnesota, and he's had 20 goals in this tournament, Chad Wilson. And Mike, Chad has really had an outstanding tournament.
Indeed. And that is going to be the key matchup. We've been joking about Philadelphia. If they win this, the rest of us are going to feel very old, because Jake Saxton, who leads all players in points earned with 27, he's 11 years old, and the front line for Philadelphia, their oldest player is 16, and that's Liam Miller. Alex Pitts also comprises the front line for the Philadelphia power play. And as you heard in the pregame show, Minnesota, their offense centered around Chad Wilson, who has 20 goals, 23 points. It's going to make for a very interesting proverbial chess match.
The one thing we also heard during the pregame show, Mike, is that one of the keys to Philadelphia's success has been team chemistry.
Absolutely. I want to add one more thing here, guys. I had a chance to see the Minnesota Saints take on the Carolina Fury in their last pool play game, and what was interesting about that, it was a 5-3 win for the Saints, was that Minnesota rested their star Chad Wilson for almost the entire game. Chad only played about 5 minutes of the second period, and that was it. And he accounted for 4 of their 5 goals. When he was out of the game, the Saints really had some trouble with the Carolina team that finished in 4th place in their pool. So it's going to be big to keep Chad Wilson on the floor and out of the penalty box, because this Philadelphia team has an excellent power play unit. And it'll be interesting to see what happens, because I think Chad Wilson's going to need a lot of support from some of his teammates like Josh White, Matt Wimmergren, to have a shot in this game, because as Dean and also Roddy brought up over there, this isn't a game that Chad can win by himself, which he has done in years past.
And an example of power play for the power play came yesterday against Calgary. The Calgary puck trap seemingly had Philadelphia stunned, ineffective, and we were ready to waltz in the Calgary team into this final. Mike Falconer took a penalty late in the third, had to go out, sit in the penalty box, and Philadelphia started their comeback with their Calgary's top player out. Then rebound went in. It was credited to Liam Miller as there was a scrum for the puck and then ball, and then Jake Saxton with the game-winning goal just about 30 seconds into overtime. I do want to mention, if you want to follow along or participate in our conversation, you can do so on our Ustream feed. You can also hit me up on Twitter at TheSportsBrain. That is TheSportsBrain. We'll see if we can get my Twitter handle up on the Ustream feed, TheSportsBrain. And we'd love to read your tweets. We've had a huge response from the Philadelphia fan base, and they have a lot to cheer about because they'll be hosting this event in 2016.
I wonder how many tweets we're going to get tonight, Mike.
Singing our national
We'll find out, but first, let's throw it to the floor for our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Philadelphia will wear the black jerseys, Minnesota will wear the white. And to finish up on our social media conversation, you can get in touch with the tournament. Follow along at PowerHockeyCup, the official account for this event. Hashtag PowerHockeyCup 2014. And if you want a recap of the results of this tournament, just go to PowerHockeyCup.com/2014.
The website's very useful to get information on all of the participating teams as well as the rules, schedules, and other information regarding the 2014 event, which is back in Minnesota.
We mentioned the front line for Philadelphia, a very young but a very potent group. Jake Saxton with 27 points, Alex Bitts and Liam Miller also very proficient. Those two could prove influential in this game. Minnesota, it's primarily Chad Wilson, Josh Dwight, and Matt Wimmergren have made a few plays as well, but as you heard in the pregame, and I think just about everybody knows, Minnesota's chances will lie on Chad Wilson's performance.
Absolutely, you're right about that, Mike Peden, how those chances do rely on Chad Wilson. But again, as the guys brought up in the other pregame show, is that they really need to get support from Josh Dwight and Matt Wimmergren, because Philadelphia has three guys who are elite level players in Liam Miller, Jake Saxton, and of course also Pitts as well. So the key is going to be getting help from Dwight and Limmergrim if you're the Minnesota Saints team.
Also, the key is going to be playing in front of the goal on defense.
We got our first tweet already from Greg Smith, who says, "Go power play," and the sentimental favorite is Philadelphia just because of that young line. As we said, if they win this tournament, the rest of us are going to feel really old.
It's funny you talk about Chad Wilson being a great player from so many years. He feels like an old guy, but guess what? He's only 25 years old.
I'm older than he is. We're underway. Tim Coleman, the head official, and as you see, rules are similar to ice hockey, and it's worth repeating for those of you who may not have seen this before. The face-offs, the officials will back off and they play off the whistle because 300-pound chairs would be quite hazardous to physical stability.
Awfully heavy chairs there, Mike.
I would not want to be run over by those. And TWW says, "Philly, hope you win 2014 Power Hockey Cup and hope you defend it in 2016. Well, they'll host it, we know that much, but we'll have to find out if they're going to defend it or chase it. Chad Wilson battling Liam Miller for the puck. The two teams did not face each other in the tournament. They were grouped in separate pools. But in pregame, before I would call the fifth place game, I actually saw Jake Saxton chatting with Chad Wilson. The two were getting to know each other, learn a few things. There is a camaraderie here. Right now they're competitors, but I think both were in admiration of each other with what Jake has been able to do at age 11 and with the veteran Chad Wilson. There is Saxton, and he dumps it into the Minnesota zone. The goalie for Minnesota, very proficient one, Sarah Heinz, leads the tournament in goals allowed, or fewest goals allowed.
Sarah also has a goals against average of 2.20 going into the championship game.
Well, that changed a little bit. She no longer held that title. Jeff Barrett took the lead at 1.99, but he was playing for third place and not the win. Going back to the game, Calgary was in front. They played the more aggressive style. Chad Wilson trapped under his own zone. There's Saxton on the coverage. Wilson having to play a little elusive here. Now he breaks through the screen. He has one-on-one. Onside, on-man rush here. Wilson fires, no, rebound will roll out.
Oh man, Chad Wilson trying to go for that backside part of the net, at least on the far side I should say, hit the goalpost very close to giving the Saints a 1-0 lead.
Now keep an eye on the defense here for Saxton. Calgary was able to screen him off. They ran a lot of puck trap against him, although he was able to break away for the game-winning goal 37 seconds into overtime yesterday against Calgary. Dwight, Minnesota trying another odd-man rush here, not quite able to do it. The ball rolls, and Saxton races in there to corral the ball.
Philadelphia looks like they're playing a solid defense in the early going.
And that's a matchup you're going to see heavily. And even though the rosters have some depth to them, these two teams don't shift too many lines. The players you see on the floor right now are the players you're going to see for much of this game.
See how he used his wheelchair in front of the goal.
And that's a common strategy as Sexton tries a wrist shot that goes to the near side of the net. You'll often see three attackers at this level and then one person dropping back to prevent a one-on-one breakaway.
Absolutely. The strategy of most teams, about the only one here at the tournament that didn't use that strategy was the Carolina Fury, who had two forwards, and then they went with an extra player back. But as you brought up, Mike, normally it's conventional style, three guys up front, and early on here in this game, as Howard brought up, Philadelphia playing good defense. Even though they're more known for their offense, they certainly are a good defensive and goaltending team as well, as Eric Gordon, a very talented goalie.
It was defense that helped them defeat Calgary yesterday. The try the backhand pass to Dwight. That does not work. And we have another tweet. A lot of Philadelphia fans, as we've noted throughout this tournament, Leah Donahue saying, good luck to the Philly power play. You guys got this. And it could be an acknowledgement of Philadelphia's fan base that got them the host site for 2016.
So the 2016 tournament is going to be held in the city of brotherly love.
Saxton, no, and Dwight bats it away.
But both teams moving really fast here in this game. Makes for a fun, wide-open style. You can see on Minnesota, some of the keys for them is that Dwight's, I think, has really been playing well so far in this game with a couple of good opportunities, and that's what the Saints need to get some help outside of Chad Wilson.
Wilson from deep, and the save by Gordon. Just went in front and let that deflect off her chest. Gordon, the only player who not from Pennsylvania, from Tabernacle, New Jersey.
Which is probably not too far from Philadelphia.
I presume not. There is no icing, so Miller can dump it into the Minnesota zone and pick it up himself. That's actually Alex Pitts.
It's actually part of New Jersey. The southern part is a portion of the Philadelphia area.
Saxton trying to stop an odd man rush here, and he does as he goes against Matt Wimmergren. Alex Pitts. And once more, we want to remind you on Twitter, we're going to try to get the name up on the Ustream feed if we haven't already, as Pitts takes a shot from the center line that goes out of play. My Twitter handle is @TheSportsBrain. The Sports and Brain, as in the organ that runs it, that you can find in a lot of biological organisms. All one word, no underscores, no spaces. We'd love to hear from you. And if you have any stories or shout-outs you would like to put on, we would be happy to read them on the air.
Keep the tweets, Tommy.
Family friendly, please, but yes. 10 minutes to go in the first period. We remain scoreless in the Power Hockey Cup 2014 Championship. Mike Beaton here with Howard Uloff and Brett Johnson.
You're okay, Jackie.
And by the way, that's a Luloff with an L.
You're okay.
We'll try to put that up on screen. Saved by Hines. She freezes the puck. And we will have a face-off at the Minnesota zone.
Good defense also by Minnesota in the early going, as both teams with high-powered offense have not put the puck in the net yet.
These are the top two scoring teams in the tournament. Philadelphia had 32 goals entering today. Minnesota had 27. Chad Wilson had a big performance in the semifinal round. A little bit of a bump between Wilson and Saxton, but no penalty is called. Saxton retrieves the ball.
Isn't it amazing, Mike, that Jake Saxton at 11 is playing for a national title?
That's a lot more than what I was doing at age 11. Saxton tries the lob, but it's stopped by the Minnesota defender, and that is number 5, Josh Wimmergren.
Hopefully he'll stick with the sport into a...
He certainly accomplished a lot more at age 11 than I did at his age. Ball is trapped on the near side corner in the Minnesota zone. Near side from our vantage point. And if the officials deem that the ball cannot be moved, they will stop play. And they're going to now because the retaining wall is falling out of place.
It looked like the ball was trapped in that wall.
So a face-off at the Minnesota zone forthcoming. Pitts and Wilson. As we've said before, the official will place the ball, clear the area, and they play off the whistle. Minnesota defeated Ottawa in the semifinal round, and I'll get to that story in a moment as Wilson takes a shot from deep. That goes off of Gordon's back. Miller retrieves it.
It deflected off of Gordon's back, but pretty lightly.
Onside, Saxton with a non-man rush. He flips it, and that goes off the chair of Heinz.
Also on top of the goal.
A lot of scoring chances, no goals yet.
Interesting note about Chad Wilson, Mike, getting prepared for the championship game. During the regular season, he scored 13 goals in one game.
And he is the leading scorer in the tournament. Came up with a sock trick, I believe, against Ottawa.
Hey guys, a couple of notes from just being down there sideline level. It's really looked like Josh Twite has kind of been the quarterback back on defense, calling out coverage here for the Minnesota defense. On the other hand, hearing some words from the Philadelphia coaching staff, they want their breakouts from their own zone to be a little bit quicker. And one of the things we noticed in last night's game is that they want to make sure offensively they stay wide and don't bunch up in one corner.
And to finish up that point on Minnesota's semifinal, as Chad Wilson takes the puck, he scored 7 goals in the 8-1 win, a blowout over Ottawa, and then got a much welcome surprise when his brother returned from his military duties away from Minnesota, made a surprise appearance, and made for a very emotional post-game celebration for Chad Wilson.
What a great reunion.
And his brother is here, cheering him on. His brother actually flew in the middle of their semifinal round last night, and they brought Chad Wilson out to center rink and dropped a surprise on him. Brett, you were on hand for that. What was that like for Chad?
Yeah, very cool ceremony, of course. We only found out just minutes before the broadcast when Chad Wilson's mom came over and informed us what was happening, hoping that his brother could fly in before game time. It worked out in a very fun ceremony to see.
Dwight, stick check by Miller.
You see the speed there of Miller and Pitts. We brought up how Philadelphia has 3 standout players, and they get more help from just Jake Saxton, and they certainly got that there with a great back check from Pitts and Miller.
Ball goes out of play. 5:40 remaining in the first period. Jessica Grono, who goes by Jessica Denise M on Twitter, says, "Go Philadelphia, you guys are the best." We have a heavy contingent of Philadelphia fans on social media. TWW says, "I relate to Philly's youth as I began hockey at age 10 as a girl in the CEWHA in California."
And one other comment that we have Sean Hesser saying, "Good luck tonight, guys. Hope to bring home the cup to Philadelphia." Also Leslie Ann saying, "Go Alex Pitts" in the power play.
Most of the Minnesota fans must be here, and so they can't respond on the social media front.
How much shorter of a drive?
Our first tweet from Minnesota.
Another shot from Wilson, and Gordon bats it away with the shoulder.
Eric Gordon's looked really good in net so far for Philadelphia. I remember earlier in the game, I think it was Chad Wilson had a breakaway, and Gordon came up with a big save, although helped out with from his best friend, the goalpost, but he's made a couple of good saves so far in this game for the power play.
Wilson backhand, no. And Liam Miller will retrieve it. Liam Miller does have a Twitter account of his own called Pockets Have I, and he's looking to pocket in a goal here perhaps. He has an odd man rush, and he puts it in! Philadelphia with the first goal. It's a 1-0 lead, 5:04 left in the first period. Let's see if we can get a look on replay.
As we take another look at that, it looked like he was coming down in front of the Minnesota bench and put it by the right side of the net, and Philadelphia's on the board.
Boy, that's so tough to cover if you're the Minnesota Saints, because like I said, Dwight's kind of been the quarterback defensively, calling out coverage, and normally your focus is on Jake Saxton, their big star, but this time it was William Miller showing a burst of speed, and boy, that makes it tough if you have 2 or 3 guys who can go down and score coast to coast like that, which of course the power play have.
It was tough to tell from our vantage points, but Liam Miller was able to squeak in the ball on the near side of the goal. And as we mentioned in the broadcast, Philadelphia has more proficient supporting players than Minnesota does. Miller and Pitts aren't afraid to shoulder the offensive responsibilities. That was a nearly intercepted pass, and Pitts clears it to the Minnesota zone, where Wilson will get it.
Minnesota has to get some offense going in the first period. They haven't been able to do so against a very tough Philadelphia defense.
Minnesota was nearly knocked out as Wilson fires, and again Gordon uses the body to deflect the ball away.
Aaron Gordon has had some really good saves so far, Mike.
They don't keep track of saves in this tournament, but Aaron Gordon racking them up rapidly.
Nor do they keep track of shots on goal on the scoreboard.
You'll have to talk to the software folks behind, or the techie folks at the scores table about that.
Unfortunately, unlike a number of hockey tournaments have worked, they don't use point streak.
We won't hold that against them.
No. Any type of software would work.
Okay, TWW explained that CEWHA is Canada. CA is also the state abbreviation for California, but CA also is the country code for Canada, in particular on websites. So, want to get that cleared up. And Wilson tried another shot, but the wrist shot was deflected by his own teammate. He'll try the wraparound, and it goes on top of the net. He had an open backside. The shot sailed too high, and it rested on top of the net. Philadelphia with a lucky break.
And a tough break for Minnesota, too, as they almost tied the game. But the ball collided with the net.
We're getting another look at this. You'll see on the wraparound, he did everything but put it in.
Do you think it went in, Mike?
No, it hit the net and then sailed high. I didn't see the ball cross the line. And just like hockey, the ball has to cross the line completely in order for a goal to count.
Unfortunately, there's no instant replay in this tournament.
No reviews. But Wilson puts it in the old-fashioned way, and we're tied at 1. Chad Wilson, the leading scorer of the tournament, picks up his 21st of the year.
And Wilson came through on the right side of Aaron Gordon and put it in, no wraparound. He just put it straight in and past Gordon.
And before that score, I do want to mention Leah Donahue was celebrating Liam Miller's goal, saying, "You go, kiddo." Again, his Twitter handle is Pockets Have I. The word pockets have an I. Reminiscent of what Yoda might say if he had pockets. Just under 3 minutes to play in the first period, and we're even at 1.
Wimmergren, by the way, is a name that's familiar to Minnesota adapted sports fans. Josh and Mac Wimmergren played for Park Center. They played adapted soccer and they played adapted floor hockey, as well as softball.
Saxton trying to deke around and loses the ball to Chad Wilson. As we mentioned before, Minnesota's going to try to trap him along the wall and use it as an extra defender. Saxton trying to do the same, and Wilson, big ball take feature from deep. Goal number 22, and Minnesota up 2-1 in the span of about a minute.
It looked like Chad Wilson lined it in front of the Philadelphia bench. He's a type of player who could hit from all places on the floor, Mike.
Absolutely, and it was interesting. I was over there on the bench when, Philadelphia was winning 1-0, and no panic on that Minnesota bench. There wasn't a lot of talk from the coaching staff. I think they know that this is a veteran team who knows how to respond, and we certainly saw that there, getting 2 quick goals to retake the lead.
Matt Wimmergren also picked up his 2nd assist.
Quick note here that we had from the coaching staff from Philadelphia, just to the listening to them. They thought defensively they were moving just a little bit slowly. Kind of wanted Miller and Saxton to move a little bit more towards the center to try to block those shots from Chad Wilson. The coaching staff kind of thinking that they were getting bunched up and they were trying to converge on those corners.
Looks like there's going to be a break for Philadelphia because Chad Wilson's off for 2 minutes.
And that's huge, guys, because as we brought up, Minnesota really struggled in their pool play game when they played without Chad Wilson against Carolina.
2 minutes. Philadelphia goes on the power play as Saxton, pulling a few dekes, a few fakes, maintains control, and Philadelphia's stick handling is almost unmatched. Hits. Tried to put it in. We have a stoppage in play with 1:31.
I like what you said. Stick handling unmatched, because I thought Josh Twight had him completely stopped, but those big three were still able to wind their way towards the net and create a good scoring chance. And this is big for Minnesota. Josh Twight especially going to have the pressure on him, as I'm guessing he'll have the main task of trying to keep an eye on Saxton here on this power play.
Saxton fires, and that's going to be wide left. Leah Donaghy says, come on, Philly, you can come back, and that's what they did yesterday against Calgary. Bear in mind, it was a penalty against Calgary's top player, Mike Falconer, that started the comeback drive for Philadelphia.
Minnesota has to find a way to keep Philadelphia from scoring without Wilson.
And if they could get a goal of their own, perhaps, without Wilson, that would add a lot of confidence. But their penalty kill defense going pretty well right now. Saxton takes another shot, and that goes wide left.
Guys, it's a pretty risky defense Minnesota's playing here. You saw both Wimmergen and Twight going all the way out near center ice to try to block. Jake Saxton playing very aggressive defensively. That leaves you very much exposed on the backside if they get around you.
Saxton tried to pass, but there was nobody there. And we'll kill some more time here at the corner. Not for long. Miller lines it up. Can he control it? No, he cannot.
Yeah, had it on his backhand, was trying to get it to his forehand, but couldn't quite do it and set up that shot.
And time should just about expire here as the ball gets trapped in the corner again. So, and the power, no, they're going to stop play with 2.3. That's, you'd have to win the faceoff and get off a quick shot. But from the looks of it, Minnesota's going to kill off the power play unless something weird happens, simply by keeping the ball trapped in the corner.
Absolutely. Do want to remind you here, coming up between periods, we'll be hearing from Dean Olivas and Roddy Harp. They'll have some analysis coming up here in just a couple of seconds.
What's a good idea for Minnesota to just take the face-off and go into the second period fresh?
Absolutely. You called it, Howard.
That's what they do. Philadelphia leads 2-1. As we head to our first intermission, let's go to Brett Johnson and our studio crew of Dean Olivas and Roddy Hart.
Absolutely, guys. A good first period here as Minnesota, with a couple of late goals in that first period, able to take the lead. And so far, it looks like they've really gotten things under control after that early Philly goal.
Sorry, I didn't hear your question.
Oh, go ahead. Just give your first period analysis here of the game. Tough to hear with all these loud Philly fans.
So, what a game so far. We saw it was pretty tight near the beginning, but we're starting to see Philly dominate. Sure, the Saints scored two goals, but one of them was very fluky. I still have Philly for the win. What do you think here, Dean?
Honestly, this game is going exactly how I thought it would. I know that I said that Philadelphia would win, and I do still feel that way, like you said. I think at the beginning they were feeling each other out, and things are starting to come together now. I don't think Chad will get the room that he had now that they figured that out. Another thing I gotta say is I don't appreciate what this mascot for the Saints is doing. I understand going out and supporting your team, but when you're being disrespectful to the other team, that's not right at all.
As we both know, the Saints often resort to gimmicks to try and win, right, Dean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, Philly's gonna come back and dominate this one for sure.
Let's go.
Let's go.
All right, thank you very much there, guys. As we have about a little over a minute before we get to the second period, let's see if we can get a rundown of our sponsors for today's game. Mike, if you can possibly run down the list of all of our sponsors. A few of them. We have Thiel Technologies. Also, we have a couple of others.
Rolex Vans. AwesomeDesign.com, Ability Care Partners Incorporated, a PCA choice provider, and Dynaquip Material Handling Solutions. And I believe the last one is Artistic Impressions. It's tough to read their logo from all the way here.
Hey, you're the one who said you had 20/20 vision.
That doesn't help with small typeface.
Well, we have Howard. You have glasses on. Maybe that'll help you read the print up there.
Well, I could see a lot of those sponsors.
Absolutely. Well, guys, fun atmosphere here at the Roy Wilkins Auditorium, isn't it? When I was over on the sideline, you can see that there's quite a few people up above us, a lot of Philadelphia fans. Just a great turnout here at this game, at least of the 6 or 7 games I've attended so far at the tournament. This by far the best attended, and it certainly creates a fun atmosphere.
Well, it's pretty easy to come down here when the admission is free.
Absolutely, and a lot of supporters from each scene. If you're looking on your computer screen, Minnesota fans kind of on the right side, Philadelphia on the left side, and I would say pretty much a 50-50 split fan-wise. Is traveling PowerPlay brought a lot of their guys in, and of course Minnesota, the local team, have plenty of supporters here as well.
And this is a site that gets a lot of views. I was here last month for the high school graduations, and every Cinco de Mayo holiday, this venue is also host to the Festival of Nations. And this also was the site of my first concert last year. Fun, the band Fun.
Was it fun?
Much so.
Oh man, did you spend all night thinking of that one, Howard?
It just...
I like it.
2-1 our score. 4 seconds left in the Philadelphia power play. That should be killed off here. We switch sides. Philadelphia got on the board first with Liam Miller, and then Chad Wilson put in 2 goals. One on the back line, having to go through several players, and then another one to maneuver past an oncoming check from Jake Saxton. He fired from deep and put it in. And Minnesota killed off the power play by basically just wasting time by putting the ball in the corner and keeping it there. Similar, well, not quite similar to clearing the puck at ice hockey. Right now, we still don't even know who won the face-off. The ball's been live for about 25 seconds, and nobody has been able to obtain clear possession of it. Here is Liam Miller, and he's on a breakaway, dekes it, and shanks it.
It seemed that the ball was buried under a wheelchair.
He tries a centering pass. That doesn't work. And just like ice hockey, passing has to be virtually on point, and that's hard to do, even for the best. Here's Wilson. That shot deflected. Goes behind the net.
It's even a bit tougher with one hand.
Right. Most of these players, in fact, all of these players, only have one free hand available.
And you know what's interesting to bring that up, guys? You have to make the choice.
Wilson, no. Rebound, yes! Josh Twight makes it a 3-1 game.
He got right into position on the rebound.
We've noted this throughout the tournament. The initial shot can create an opportunity through the rebound or deflection, and Twight was in the right position. It's similar to a box out in basketball that gets you an offensive rebound. Josh Twight did the same thing here and was able to tap it in.
Big goal here for Josh Twight, as he and Wimmergren both having strong games so far. That was one of our keys to get some help outside of Wilson. He, of course, has 2 goals, but I think Twight and Wimmergren have had strong games so far here for Minnesota.
Assisted by number 7, Chad Wilson.
Wilson picked up the assist, his 3rd point of the game.
And that brings Wilson's total to 26. He's 1 away from tying Jake Saxton for most in the tournament. Wilson has really come on strong in the last couple of games. As we mentioned, a 7-goal outburst in the semifinal victory over Ottawa. And another reminder, you can hit us up on Twitter, or hit me up on Twitter at TheSportsBrain. We've had a lot of Philadelphia fans take that advice already. We'll try to get that up on the screen for you. My Twitter handle is TheSportsBrain. And it's been fun to hear all the Philadelphia fans.
Come on, Minnesota people, respond.
That's what I was saying yesterday when they were playing, I think it was Calgary. We didn't hear from any Calgary people till the very end of the broadcast.
Pitts. That goes deep and bounced off Josh Wimmergren and goes behind the net.
Minnesota's done a good job. They've really kept Jake Saxton pretty quiet in this game. The main scoring threat for Philadelphia so far has really been Liam Miller into a point.
And Josh Dwight nearly doubled his scoring output. That really would have been a blow to Philadelphia's morale. But they've worked their way out of a 2-goal deficit before. Remember, they trailed Calgary through much of the third period and didn't start their comeback until the 6-minute mark. Scored the game-tying goal with 1:30 left in what was technically an own goal situation, but in hockey, the credit goes to the last offensive player who touched it. And there was just a big scramble for the rebound, and bounces can go one way and sometimes they go another.
And speaking of that, I remember seeing on that tying goal, I know a Calgary player had a chance to clear it and he just fanned on his attempt, and that allowed that puck to bounce right back in the net.
We have an issue here with Josh Dwight's chair. Stoppage in play with 12 minutes remaining. And I know you are concerned about injuries, of course, but another element, obviously, in electric wheelchair hockey is the equipment. We had an issue yesterday with Moses York, where he had to replace chairs, and the axle, his left front axle, was bent out of alignment, and he had to get another chair to complete the game. They were able to donate some parts today so he could compete, and it looks like Dwight's chair is regained operational status.
You think those chairs take a beating throughout the whole tournament?
Oh, absolutely.
And I spoke with Tim Coleman, the head official. He called some of our early games, and he mentioned they try to keep chairs on during intermissions because it works very much like a computer with all of the automated equipment that takes place. These are electric wheelchairs, and very similar to a traditional computer where sometimes it takes a while to boot up, although newer models can do so rather quickly. These chairs need some time to boot up all their programming. Similar to Brett and the time he needs to wake up in the morning.
I don't know about that.
Takes you, what, 5 minutes to get your body?
Mike Peden with a low blow. I like it. I like
to get your body activated.
You know, you have to. Mike York and I dishing it out to you, but I like the little counter you did there.
Do you have to enter a password too?
All right.
For a username?
Get a load of the mascot over there on the left. I think we got the Michigan mascot making a cameo out here. Gotta love this, all the mascots running around. Very cool to have here in Power Hockey. Creates for a fun atmosphere.
The crowds may be small, but the enthusiasm is high.
Yeah, you said it. I mean, even when you talk about the turnout, I'd say there's at least a few hundred people in there, but they certainly make it feel like there's a lot more. And it helps, too, kind of having a nice intimate atmosphere at the Roy Wilkins Auditorium where the fans can sit nice and close to the action.
It would be a lot different if they were playing at the X with 15,000 seats.
Absolutely.
Well, it's an atmosphere that would reflect what you see at the girls' state high school hockey tournament, and not a diss to the girls because they are some competitive players. It just the following isn't there yet to get 15,000 people. But it's exposure that helps get you there, and hopefully we're providing that for you fans who are watching in Philadelphia and anywhere else in the world.
Oh, that was almost Jake Saxton's first real breakaway of the game, but again, good job back-checking there by the Minnesota Saints defense. Again, Saxton's been kept pretty quiet so far in this game, and credit Minnesota for always keeping a body in front of him.
It looks like they've been double-teaming Saxton.
Wilson dumps it off. Was looking for Dwight, who was given the nickname Duck Dynasty by Mike York, in reference to his facial hair. Of course, in this state, we are the home of the original Duck Dynasty.
Duck Dynasty is still popular.
It is, but they can claim it, but ours was first. Here's Chad Wilson on the attack, and that goes off Hartline's chair. He gets the rebound, another shot, bounces in, no, and Pitts makes a key swat. Swipes it, and now that goes off the chair of a Minnesota player, but Wilson is there to save it.
Outstanding defense in front of the goal.
That shot wide left from Wilson, and it bounces off the retaining wall and back into the field of play.
You brought up, Howard, how Chad Wilson can seemingly score everywhere. He just did a second ago.
Miller on a breakaway, loses control of the ball, though. Saxton trying to poke it away, and the puck will freeze. Miller, I think, went a little too fast and could not control the ball with his stick.
I'm not sure that might not have even been an attempted centering pass. I think you're right that he ended up losing possession, but I think he was trying to center that and hope Jake Saxton or Pitts could try to come in and score on the doorstep. But tough break either way. Is like you said, Mike, he did just lose a stick handle at the last second, but I think he was looking pass instead of shot.
Well, maybe we can talk to him afterward and say, at the 9:55 mark of the second period, were you thinking pass or shoot? It's hard to say what he was envisioning, but we're going to have a penalty?
Looks like it will be on Minnesota.
Yes, it's on the defender, Josh Wimmergren. I didn't see that initially.
You don't often see penalties against defensemen here in power hockey, at least in the 6 or 7 games I've done at the tournament. I think this is the first time I've seen a penalty called on a defenseman.
I wonder what the call is.
Well, there was a penalty called against the defender earlier today at the Minnesota Selects and Michigan Mustangs game, as Chad Wilson getting an explanation from Tim Coleman, our head official. And I plugged him a few times, but I'll plug him one more time. He's been involved with wheelchair hockey, electric wheelchair hockey for many years, and he also is a drama teacher at St. Paul Harding High School. All of the musical and theatrical productions are put on by him.
Multi-talented guy and very good official as well, on top of all the rules and keeps things consistent. I don't think a lot of players have had any complaints about him.
So 2 minutes and a power play again for Philadelphia. Shot is deflected by Heinz. And most of the time the goalies are able to just remain stationary, and that does not suggest they are lazy by any means, but goaltending in wheelchair hockey is notably different than ice hockey. A little less mobility.
Hey guys, quick note, that was a crease violation they called on Wimmergren. And of course the rule is anytime you go in the crease and the puck isn't there, it's a penalty. Much different than ice hockey where it's just a face-off in your defensive zone.
So you have to watch where the puck is when you're on defense.
Yeah, that's a big punishment, getting a penalty if you're in there at the wrong time. And that was the call against Josh Wimmergren.
Wilson looking for a shorthanded opportunity. Goal! The route just might be on for the Saints as Wilson twirls his stick in celebration. 4-1 the score. Wilson with a hat trick and a short-handed goal.
Outstanding stick handling by Chad Wilson.
His second short-handed goal of the tournament.
Yeah, to bring up that stick handling, did a great job shielding his body away from Liam Miller, who was trying to close in on the back check, but Wilson did a great job preventing Miller from trying to get back and steal that away. Just great setup there from Wilson, from the veteran player.
1 minute,
that puck.
1 minute left in the Philadelphia power play.
When Wilson headed up toward the goal, it looked like he was changing directions with the stick, using one hand. He did it really well, too, to maneuver the puck, and he put it in the net.
Wilson with the hat trick. Minnesota has scored the last 4 goals consecutively.
And this is tough here for Philadelphia. If they go 0 for 2 on the power play, a couple of golden opportunities, and now a chance here from Twite.
And that goes just left.
They have to regain their offensive momentum.
Well, it's been a real kind of out-of-control style here from Philadelphia. It's not quite their usual discipline they have, as normally they don't give up this many odd-man rushes, let alone on a power play.
And when you're a group that's this young, they're experienced. As Pitts, that was a save, and Miller's not going to be able to get there in time for a putback chance. That was one of the better shots we've seen in the second period. But when you're as young as Philadelphia, you're going up against a line of considerably older folks on Minnesota's end as Wilson. Here we go again.
Watch him dribble.
Goal number 4. Wilson is now the leader in points earned with his 4th goal. And I believe he had an assist on the no, that was off a rebound, but he has tied Saxton's mark at the very least.
Well, I was predicting this might happen. I think Philadelphia might be getting a timeout right here because, like I said, you never see them give up this many odd man rushes, and they have to get this straightened out because right now they're letting Chad Wilson, Josh Twake kind of run wild on them with, about 4 breakaways they've had in the last 2 or 3 minutes. Very uncharacteristic here of this Philadelphia team. I'll have to see if they can straighten that out.
Chad Wilson in the last 2 days has scored 11 goals. He had 7 in that blowout victory over Ottawa. He has 4 here, and we have 7:31 left. And I don't think he's ready to call it quits just yet.
Absolutely not. His offense is really setting the textbook for Minnesota.
Wilson flips another one, and that is stopped, and Philadelphia changes goaltenders. In between the pipes is trying to get a number, but they took out Aaron Gordon.
Their backup goalie looks like Pat Hilferty.
Could be Anthony.
Hilferty. But we'll find out who it is.
Could be Anthony D'Amico.
Ooh, and I think we might get a high stick here against Philadelphia.
And the penalty for high sticking is different than the ice hockey version. They just have a face-off in the offending team's zone as opposed to a 2-minute minor. And Wilson wins the face-off. That shot is deflected. I want to say that is Anthony D'Amico at goalie right now for Philadelphia.
Yeah, he played a little bit on, I believe it was Tuesday night, but Gordon's primarily been the goaltender here from Philadelphia, and I think it was more of a sub here if you're the power play, not necessarily because Gordon's, been playing poorly. You just got to kind of shake things up here for your team, even though you see this sometimes in hockey where it's not necessarily the goalie's fault. You sometimes switch them to kind of give a jolt to your team, give yourself a new look.
But whoever's in goal for Philadelphia has a tough chance of defending Chad Wilson. He is putting on an offensive clinic tonight, Mike.
Well, to the chagrin of Philadelphia fans, one of them saying the one-man show is getting pretty old, and I probably would feel the same way if I were a Philadelphia fan. Jessica Grono says something, and that shot is stopped by Josh Wimmergren. Jessica Grono saying, keep going to Philadelphia. You are still the most amazing team, and even though they're young, that's the scary part. These kids in 2 years will have much more experience, and remember, they are going to host the next tournament.
Well, you feel like these guys could end up meeting for the next 5 or 6 tournament finals. Minnesota's, of course, been a dynasty forever, and Philadelphia certainly seems like they're well on the way to having that same kind of thing with so many youngsters.
It's almost like watching Blake and Eden Prairie girls lacrosse, isn't it, Brett?
Yeah, exactly. Well, a reference a lot of people probably won't get, so let's stick to this one here. But
or if you want to go with
referencing your other company.
Or if you want to go with Major League Baseball, Yankees and Red
exactly.
Sox.
I think that's a good one right there. Yankees, Red Sox, 2 teams that could end up meeting for a while in finals.
And that is Anthony D'Amico at between the nets, and that shot just went off the top of the net bar.
How did that not go in? I think that hit the bottom of the crossbar. Good call here by the officials to say that didn't go in, but that was close. Literally hitting the bottom of the crossbar and somehow bouncing out. Interesting to see if we could get that on replay.
Saxton on a breakaway, and he ends the run.
Wow, what a pass to Jake Saxton. That is tremendous. Maybe the best pass we've seen so far at this tournament.
I remember a pool play game on Monday. He hooked up with Liam Miller. Saxton with perhaps the best backhand pass I had seen, and that gave Miller a wide open net. Let's see if that gives Philadelphia a jolt of their own as they stop the 5-goal streak of Minnesota. It's a 5-2 game with 5:10 left in the second.
Saxton had some outstanding stick handling as he headed down the court, changing directions well.
Saxton picking up his 19th goal of the tournament. He's up to 28 points, and that gives him the lead back for points earned.
Jake Saxton. assisted by number 8, Alex Pitts.
Alex Pitts credited for the assist.
Pitts set up the goal that dug Philadelphia out of the pits.
This is what Philadelphia needs to do right here when Wilson gets on the puck. Trap him in a corner with 2 people. Don't give him any space. Try to create some turnovers.
Effectively what Minnesota's doing with Saxton. Dwight was looking for the one-timer, and it rolls past his reach.
And Philadelphia's got to tighten up in that area. That's about the 3rd or 4th time this period we've seen a wide open pass to an uncovered Josh Dwight. Lucky so far that it haven't been bitten more on those chances.
A few more.
Dwight hasn't been able to stop.
A few more comments on the Twitterverse. TWW saying, maturity may win, or is Philly respecting their elders and letting the Saints win? I don't think there was any conspiracy involved.
Just a veteran Minnesota team. They've won this the last 2 times, and I remember reading in the Pioneer Press article that was written earlier this week that a lot of these guys have been playing together since 2001. So what, going on 13 years?
Now there's team chemistry.
Folks, don't forget to visit the concession stand for some great food and beverages.
They play together for so many years. You go through a lot. You play in the first tournament.
You got it.
And then you play in your own city.
Well, this is the 3rd time Minnesota has hosted, but the previous 2 instances were in Minneapolis. This is the first time St. Paul has received the bid. Saxton shot wide left. Was going to say chemistry has done wonders for the Minnesota Lynx, and it has the same effect here for the Minnesota Saints.
Lynx had a great game on Tuesday with Maya Moore scoring 48 points, a team record.
And I think Chad Wilson is going for the equivalent in electric wheelchair hockey.
Well, how about this, too, thinking about Chad Wilson? Remember, he basically missed an entire game in the last round of pool play. You would think that goal total, I should say, would be even higher if he had played the entire Carolina game.
Well, he scored 4 goals in 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Well, imagine if he played the entire game.
Instant offense.
Exactly, and they needed that, too, because at that point when he played just 5 minutes, his team was actually trailing 2-1. They brought him in, and I think he had 2 goals and 2 assists. He accounted for all 4 goals, helping out in some way. But shows how much they rely on him.
We have a stoppage in play. Something is going on with the chair of Sarah Heinz. From the looks of it, the chair seems to be stuck to the net or malfunctioning. Tough to tell from here.
I wonder if it was stuck because it looks like she's moving around now, and certainly someone you want on the floor if you're Minnesota, as she's played just about every minute here of this tournament, and kind of the unheralded hero on this team as she's come up with some big saves.
Not to mention you kind of need the net free from a wheelchair if you want to continue play.
Exactly.
There's that element too.
You'd want to drag the net?
I think that's how you played your hockey, isn't it, Brett? And then that you managed to win games that way?
Yep. Just move the net and they can't score, right?
We'll have a face-off at the Philadelphia zone. 3:13 remaining in the 2nd period. Minnesota up 5-2.
Funny you bring that up because in a very similar league to Power Hockey, the high school league here in Minnesota, there's a certain team that kind of does that. They do it much more subtly, but their goalie will very slightly move the net just a little bit. Haven't seen that really in this league, though, too much.
Well, it's quite a bit different from the adapted floor hockey we've seen in Minnesota over the years.
Absolutely. Well, some of these guys on the floor for the Saints did play high school hockey. Matt Wimmergren among them. He was a star for the Maple Grove high school team back around 2003, 2004.
Pass to Miller went underneath his chair. Wilson fires, but goes right in between the wedge of Hartline and D'Amico.
Fortunately, the ball did not get stuck.
Absolutely. Let's see what happens here at the end of the period, guys. Philadelphia seems to have kind of settled things down. They made it a 5-2 game, and if they can pop one more in here before the end of the 2nd period, you have to feel pretty good about yourselves, down only by 2 goals.
And There they try to trap Wilson. He gets the escape pass out, but the outlet pass goes right to Liam Miller, and we're going to have another scrum for the puck, or the ball. I want to say puck.
You think
Saxton with the seam off the crossbar.
You think this is wheelchair rugby?
There is a sport actually called wheelchair rugby.
Just a second ago, guys, Heinz, I think that puck may have deflected off of her as well. Oh man, look at the stick handling
White left
there.
alone.
Wow.
He loses the handle, regains it, but he's out of position. He had a one-on-one look, had Hartline beat, and he lost the handle.
Kind of did the, well, hold on, let's wait for this rush here.
Saxton, he finds the hole.
Wow.
The wrist shot to the far side makes it a 5-3 game. Saxton with his second goal of the match.
Guys, what an offensive show. Just a moment before that goal, we had Chad Wilson putting on a phenomenal pass to Josh Twite. He couldn't score. Then going the other way, it was a beautiful shot from Saxton, finding that corner somehow. That looked like almost an impossible angle, but he was able to find that far side post, clank it in off that and score.
He had a little bit of arc on that shot, and he aimed it in the right direction toward the goal.
What a show, though. Great offense from both guys. Unfortunately, if you're a Saints fan, they couldn't quite capitalize on the Wilson to Twite pass, but going the other way, great shot from Saxton.
Shouldn't be a surprise. These are the top two scoring teams of the tournament. Saxton with his 20th goal of the season and his 29th point. That gives him a 2-point lead over Chad Wilson for tops in points earned. He's probably not concerned about that right now, but it's a fun little side plot.
But Saxton appears to have heated up a bit.
Well, Philadelphia has scored back-to-back goals after giving up 5 in a row to Minnesota. And a 2-goal deficit is a lot more manageable than 3 as Wilson bats it, goes off the retaining wall. And Wimmergren goes back to retrieve it, tries a centering pass, doesn't do it. Miller evades a couple of checks. He's on a run. Look out! And a nice screen by Wimmergren to drive him away.
Excellent defense by Wimmergren in front of the goal.
Smart defense, too. He knew he couldn't quite catch him, but at least force him to the side into a tough shot. Good play by the veteran, Matt Wimmergren.
We move to the second intermission. Minnesota leads 5-3. Let's go to Brett Johnson and our studio crew with Dean and Roddy.
Thank you very much, guys. Interesting second period there, guys. We saw Minnesota go on a 5-0 run, but suddenly Philadelphia with a little bit of life there at the end of the period with 2 quick goals and a great play by Saxton scoring on a near impossible angle.
I'm not going to lie, I almost was willing to give up on Philadelphia there for a minute, but I'm telling you, this is the team of miracles here. I don't want to say it, but do you believe in miracles, Roddy?
Yes, I do, Dean. Yes, I do. We saw at the beginning of the period, Philly was playing Chad a little too deep, and Chad was getting those breakaways and tricking the Philly goalie. Philly decided to take action, brought out a new goalie, Anthony D'Amico, and completely turned the tables around.
That's a big momentum swing right there. We'll see how he does. And, hey, tune in. This is going to be a great third period here.
Let's see if Jake and the team of #TheBoys can pull it through.
Jake for president.
Let's go.
How about this, guys? One more question for you here. What do you have to do with Philadelphia to try to tighten up defensively? We saw a lot of breakaways from Twite and Wilson. Philadelphia kind of letting them get a little open too much. How do you slow them down and, tighten up defensively?
Well, that's an interesting question. It's a real risk-reward because right now they need points. But the more aggressively you play, the more likely Chad's going to get that breakaway. So they're going to have to be effective when shutting down and trying to score.
At some point in time, if this game remains with Philadelphia losing, they're going to have to press, and they're just going to have to not worry about that. You don't want them to score. You want them to keep neutral, but you got to score goals at some point.
That's right, Dean.
All right, thank you very much, guys. So we'll have to see if that 5-goal outburst from Minnesota is too tough for Philadelphia to overcome. Well, so far they're halfway there to recovering, scoring 2 goals at the end of the second period. As we currently stand here with a Minnesota 5-3 lead over the Philadelphia PowerPlay. Let's go ahead and send things back to our broadcast booth. With Howard Luloff, here's Mike Peden.
I think Jake Saxton might be at a place in bar.
We were just discussing at this after party if Jake Saxton might be at a place at the Wild Times Bar and Grill in downtown St. Paul. We'll find out that question soon.
Cassetta's is a good option. That's a nice local restaurant here in Minnesota or downtown St. Paul. Mike Peden, I know you ate some lunch over there. If you ever get a chance to be here in downtown St. Paul, that's the restaurant to hit up.
What do you recommend?
5-3 our score. 400 people in attendance. Chad Wilson with 4 goals. Saints scored 3 in the second period. Philadelphia scored 2, but that 3-goal burst was part of the 5-0 run by the Saints, and then Philadelphia scoring back-to-back goals to feel a lot better about their chances for victory here. 2 goals from Jake Saxton, and Liam Miller, of course, scored back in the first period. 4 goals for Chad Wilson, 1 from Josh Twite. And that's a recap of our scoring thus far.
You know what here, guys, important early in the third period, Philadelphia, I think, has to get at least 1 goal before the 8 or 9 minute mark because, as the guys Dean and also Roddy brought up, if you have to start playing kind of an all-out offensive style, you really expose yourself to breakaways from Josh Twite and Chad Wilson. So important for them to try to get this to a very manageable 1-goal lead or possibly even a tie game because you certainly don't want to press and get burned back behind you with Wilson and Twite.
Remember, Philadelphia trailed by 2 to Calgary and made their comeback in the final 6 minutes before winning in overtime. Miller wins the scrum, beats the check of Wilson, dekes it, and loses control.
Wow, Howard, you've brought up all game how good the stick handling is. Just dangling there from Liam Miller. Dangle fest.
It's been a tough game for Liam Miller. Now Saxton loses control. Wilson tries to get under there. And a stoppage in play.
I think there's an equipment problem.
On Alex Pitts. We want to remind you with the stoppage, 14:27 left in the third period. Philadelphia wearing black, Minnesota wearing white. We'd like to hear from you on Twitter. Just hit me up at the Sports Brain, like Leah Donahue, who says, "Come on, Anthony, save them goals." Philadelphia has not allowed a goal since Anthony D'Amico came in. But hit me up. It's the Sports and Brain, all one word. We'll be happy to read your tweets on the air. The Philadelphia fans certainly have.
Well, you mentioned earlier that the 2016 Power Hockey Cup will be in Philadelphia. If you've not been to Philadelphia, it's highly recommended. A lot of historical sites.
Also the venue for the historical film Rocky.
Oh, almost
the
a soccer style
Rocky
there.
Steps.
See a little soccer headbutt there from Chad Wilson hitting the ball out of the air? Maybe could do a little World Cup action.
We had the World Cup finish up earlier this month. Saxton picks it up. Gets by the screen of Wilson. Miller has it this time. He's got a clean handle, but he can't get the shot away. DWW saying, I hope Philly holds it together and win. Leah Donahue, come on boys, you can do this. You guys are amazing. Philly! That was in all caps.
All caps, I got you.
So Mike, do you see the possibility of overtime?
Philadelphia would need 2 more goals, but they did beat Calgary yesterday in overtime, thanks to Jake Saxton on a center line shot.
And in that game, that was the first time that Saxton had been able to get behind the Calgary defense. They had been so disciplined that entire game, but the one time the Calgary defense broke down, Philadelphia made them pay for it, and that's how they won.
Another tweet coming in from Ryan Kostiak, whose name is inverted on Twitter, Kostiak Ryan. Great second period rally for Philadelphia. Hashtag Saxton and the boys for the win.
Well, still a hill to climb. We'll have to see if that 5-goal outburst from Minnesota is going to be too much to come back from. I mean, they've cut the lead in half to make it 5-3, but boy, that's awfully tough to come back from giving up 5 unanswered goals.
Also, the key to Minnesota is how to contain Jake Saxton.
Yeah, they've done a pretty good job here in this game, but what's really hurt them almost a little bit more has been Liam Miller.
Well, Saxton, remember, did get a couple of shots on the breakaway opportunities, and that's really where you have to stop him. Kelly and Pipe saying, "Let's go Philadelphia, beat the Saints," on Twitter. We're getting a lot of Philadelphia fans chiming in on our Ustream coverage.
I think most of the Minnesota fans are probably here since they obviously have a lot shorter drive. 20 miles compared to however long it is to Philadelphia. I don't have the exact distance down.
Or they're probably watching the Twins.
Yeah.
Coincidentally, no Pittsburgh fans have chimed in.
Yeah, not surprised.
I guess that's electric wheelchair hockey. Minnesota dumps the puck to the Philadelphia zone, and right now the power play of Philadelphia getting a lot of attack zone time early in the third.
Yeah, this is probably one of the first sustained forechecks they've had in a while. And
Saxton, that was close.
Again, Saxton able to actually get behind Chad Wilson. Don't see that very often. Good play there from Chad Wilson, or excuse me, Jake Saxton to read the defense, know to get behind Chad Wilson and stay on sides, created a pretty good opportunity.
Philadelphia was involved in the highest scoring game of this tournament, a 10-7 victory over Minnesota Selects.
Your thoughts on the Minnesota Selects?
I covered them in the 5th place game, and they're a young team, and they have a lot of bumps to get through. They just really have to figure out how to work as a unit. Chad Wilson with a shot. That goes off of D'Amico.
Good read there by D'Amico. That was a tough shot to stop.
What do you think would be the key to Minnesota Selects turning the corner toward the caliber of the Saints?
At least I've heard they're just a very new team. I think they've only been around a couple of years. They have some guys that are new to power hockey, so just gaining experience, I think.
As they got shut out by the Michigan Mustangs in the 5th place game. Game I called earlier today, that was a 6-0 victory for the Mustangs. 4 goals from Kevin Conferra. Chad Wilson, this time with a grounder.
Yeah, tried to sneak that in on that lower corner, but Philadelphia defense was there to pick it up. Now we see Minnesota finally getting a little bit of a forecheck going after Philly had a good forecheck for the first 2 minutes or so here of the third period.
Brad Gordon on Twitter says, "Good to see a young team handle their business so well. Go Philly." And then Rose Locke.
That's a good point because you think a young team with guys who are literally just kids, they give up 5 unanswered goals. They might kind of get frustrated and really let a big onslaught occur, but they responded, scoring 2 goals late in that second period, and they're still very much in this game. Shows the maturity here of this squad.
Now they're playing the theme from Rocky. And we were talking about Rocky earlier.
Set in Philadelphia. Rose Locke saying Versace making all the saves, referring to Anthony D'Amico and not the fashion designer. Dave Pipe at the Pipester says Minnesota doesn't know what they're getting into. Philly never quits. Well, they didn't against Calgary, and they're certainly not quitting against Minnesota. If the Saints are going to win their 3rd consecutive Power Hockey Cup, they will sweat for it. And then Philly Freedom, not related to the tennis organization, says go Philly.
And you get the feeling here too that 1 more goal for Minnesota might be enough. I think Philadelphia is going to have enough trouble trying to score 2 goals here in the next 10 minutes. Certainly can't afford to give up another one.
Chad Wilson
look at that.
Evades the check, takes a shot. D'Amico with the save. Dwight picks it up on the rebound.
He avoided 3 guys to get that shot off. Tremendous stick handling.
And a stoppage in play with 10:25 left in regulation.
He also had a lot of offensive momentum on that play.
And just great control of that chair and great control of his stick. Avoiding the big 3 guys from Philadelphia to get that shot on net.
Well, this is proving to be an entertaining championship in my debut week for electric wheelchair hockey.
What do you see in the sport's future?
Well, I see if there. Well, I would need a few. I would need a few arrangements taken care of if they want me back for Philadelphia in 2 years.
Future of the sport, though, I know, sounds pretty bright talking to some of the other guys here from players on other teams. I know Dallas just started a team, Toronto as a second team that didn't qualify, so still a lot of other teams as it's a growing sport.
Alex Pitts with the shot. That rolls out, and Chad Wilson pokes it away.
Very alert play from Chad Wilson, just streaking in to hit that puck away from danger as Pitts was looking for that rebound.
But with only 400 people in the stands, it sounds...
Exactly, it's a great atmosphere out here. At least the lower stands, if we can get a shot of that, are almost full down here, and I'd say at least we got maybe 20, 30 people up there in the balcony area.
Wilson's been having a harder time getting shots off, and as you mentioned, not getting the breakaway opportunities that he was getting in the first and that first part of the second period. Another stoppage of play with 9:02 left, and for Philadelphia, you have to imagine if they continue their persistence on the attack, the forecheck, it's going to create some opportunities as we're going to have a penalty assessed to Chad Wilson.
Keep in mind, though, even though he's going off the floor, Philadelphia is 0 for 2 on the power play so far in this game, including 0 for 1 with Chad Wilson off the floor. But you think right here they have to cash in. And kind of deja vu, Mike. Remember we said this yesterday when they were down by 2 goals midway through the third period against Calgary. They had to score on a power play chance. It took them only 14 seconds.
And that's when Calgary's top player, Mike Falconer, went out, and he was the omnipresent figure in Calgary's puck trap. Well, now the clock has started. We're going to have to get that fixed.
They probably jumped the gun.
They're not going to fix it, so 3 seconds elapse. That can be crucial in the power play, but so can winning the faceoff. Minnesota with another shorthanded chance.
Oh, Wimmergren just couldn't quite stuff that in. He was looking for that far side post.
He made the deke, and he may have been better off going for the straight up shot as he lost the handle on the deke attempt and ended up empty. But this will kill more time.
I wonder if he didn't feel the presence of that back checker coming.
Well, Minnesota's penalty kill, very effective. The first 2 power plays, all they did was just keep the ball in the corner and kept Philadelphia from doing much. So the goal here is to keep Philadelphia away from the center of the playing surface. But a wraparound goes in. It's Jake Saxton with the hat trick and a power play goal. It's a 1-goal game.
Great play there from Jake Saxton.
And very fitting background music for the Philadelphia organization.
And that's what hurts, I should say, when you don't have Chad Wilson out there on the floor. Normally on a rebound chance like that, he would be streaking in to hit that away from danger. But of course, when he's in the penalty box, there was no one there to clear away that rebound. So Jake Saxton got there first, pretty elementary. He puts it in the net after caromed off the end wall. And it's a 5-4 game, guys.
Yep, he positioned himself well right by the net on the power play.
And as we noted before, Dwight got his goal being in a favorable position off the rebound. You saw the ball roll right out to him. Saxton raced in, got it, went to his backhand, and Philadelphia has scored the last 3 goals in a row, turning a 5-1 margin into a 5-4 game, and that's sure to ramp up the tension in the final minutes of regulation.
Should be an interesting finish, Mike.
Well, we're getting the show I think everyone wanted to see. Chad Wilson against Jake Saxton, with both players showcasing their strengths. Saxton with the hat trick, getting his 21st goal of the year. He now has 30 points in this tournament.
A lot of time here for Philadelphia as well. We talked about how it was important for them to score around that 8 or 9 minute mark so they didn't have to go to a complete all-out offensive style trying to score 2 goals. Now they only need 1. They don't quite have to go with that same full press, which will allow them to, if you're a Philadelphia fan, hopefully prevent Chad Wilson from getting a breakaway.
It's amusing you say that because Dave Pipe said time for an all-out assault on the Saints on Twitter, and then Jessica Grono chiming in saying, yes, Philly can do this. Awesome goal, Jake.
Of course, as our guys brought up, though, Roddy and also Dean over there, all-out assault, sometimes not the best strategy here against the Saints because you certainly expose yourself to Chad Wilson on the counterattack.
Hits from deep! Oh, that almost bounced in.
A very close shot that didn't go into the net.
Very close. I'm not sure, Howard, if you had a better angle up there. Did that carom off anything on the way? I'm not sure if that got a piece of anyone's chair.
Touched the chair.
Okay.
We mentioned an all-out assault has its risks. Calgary effectively played conservatively in the third period, not concerned about scoring, just trying to run time off the clock. The adage of playing not to lose, and they ended up losing by not playing to their own strengths.
Well, the strategy would have worked. I think the ultimate turning point in the game was that penalty against Faulkner, because without that penalty, I think Calgary maybe goes on and wins that game 2-0, because they had their defense just playing perfectly in that game yesterday. But one play can change momentum, and that was certainly the case in yesterday's semifinal.
Wilson trying to get the clear out. That bounces off, and a big save by Heinz. Rebound by Saxton. He's trying to corral it, and a stoppage in play with 6:18 left. Philadelphia feeling very confident now. Their enthusiasm is brimming. And if it's not an all-out assault we're seeing, it's pretty darn close. But again, it goes down to attack zone time. Philadelphia spending a lot of time there.
Absolutely, and this is something I think Minnesota Saints fans aren't used to seeing a lot. When even you have a guy like Wilson on the floor, you're not used to seeing your team defending a lot more than attacking, and that's certainly been the case as
well, remember,
PowerPlay have had the forecheck going for the last 3 or 4 minutes.
Remember, Minnesota had to escape with a 4-3 victory. We're going to have a penalty against Minnesota. Josh Wimmergren, there may have been another crease violation, and Philadelphia already has 1 power play goal to their credit. Minnesota had to escape against the Michigan Mustangs, winning 4-3 in the quarterfinal round yesterday. So Minnesota not completely unfamiliar with the situation, but this is against a very potent Philadelphia team, and Saxton going for the tie right away.
This could change the momentum for Philadelphia.
Oh, what a play there by Liam Miller to hustle back on defense and cut off Chad Wilson's angle. He had a breakaway nearly materialize.
Wilson, that bounces off Hartline. And a stoppage in play as the ball goes out of play. 1:33 left in the power play. .551 on the clock, 5-4 the score. The Minnesota Saints lead Philadelphia.
Like bumper cars over there on that far side, guys.
And a delayed penalty on Minnesota.
Well, if you're Minnesota here, Philadelphia, let Minnesota touch the puck, get that 2-man advantage.
But Saxton looking to score.
Again, they'd be better off letting Minnesota touch the puck to get to that 2-man advantage.
At the same time, it wouldn't hurt to score a goal and cancel the penalty because it means you're tied.
Yeah, too, but I think you go for the 2-man
Well,
advantage.
we're going to have 1 minute of a 2-man advantage here for Philadelphia.
Also the first 5-on-3 we've seen today, I believe.
Well, it's my second instance. Josh Twite will head to the penalty box. So 1 minute of a 2-man advantage for Philadelphia. We had a 2-man advantage situation between Calgary and the Minnesota Select, but there was a scoring error by the officials that had to get corrected. So we had to reset the clock effectively because there were too many men, but that was due to an officiating error and not player error.
Well, here we go, guys. Now we're going to see what Chad Wilson's made of defensively, because He's literally going to be defending all by himself here against this big three from Philadelphia.
The key is simply to get the ball in the corner if you can. Just trap it.
And that's exactly what he's going to do. I don't even know if he's going to dump it. He might just start stick handling around and trying to shield it from all these Philadelphia players, which is exactly what he's doing. Great strategy here from the veteran Wilson. And in fact, I think he might have drawn a penalty.
He did.
Wow, that is just a great play from a veteran over there, Chad Wilson. Stick handling in the corner and drawing a penalty. Great job.
So 39 seconds of 4-on-3. The penalty is on Alex Pitts. So we're going to have a lot of open space.
Imagine if Miller got a penalty, playing some one-on-one with Saxton versus...
Well, I think you have to have a minimum of 2. So they would bring somebody in, and it would just be an extension of the 2-minute or the 2-man advantage.
You can have fewer than that, according to the guys over there.
This also changes the tempo.
Absolutely, 2-on-1.
A lot of space will open up here.
It's almost like a practice drill you sometimes run.
But unfortunately, this isn't practice.
Well, here's the key here from Miller and also Saxton. One of those guys has to stay behind to prevent a breakaway here from Chad Wilson when he gets the puck.
Wilson just relying on his stick handling, and he has a little more experience.
Yeah, good trap right there from the Philadelphia guys if they can gain possession.
Gets it. Can't get around Hartline, though. Now it's 3-on-3 for the next 50 seconds. And then a short power play for Minnesota. The twists and turns are becoming more jagged in the closing minutes of regulation. Wilson with a dump. Miller picks it up. 30 seconds left and 3-on-3. Miller racing through. He's not going to have an angle, though.
Really interesting stuff here. 3.5 minutes to go, and I think a half minute left there on the Philadelphia penalty, as Minnesota will, as you said, might get a brief power play coming up right now.
They will have 20 seconds of a power play situation.
Oh, and they're lucky there as Philadelphia that Chad Wilson didn't see Twite coming out of the box. He would have had a wide open pass for a breakaway if he had seen Twite.
Wilson cut off, and that should kill off as Saxton collides with Wilson. Wilson taking a shot. D'Amico with the save, and we return to full strength with 2:55 left.
Philadelphia's done an outstanding job containing Chad Wilson in the third period, because he's not scored a goal in this period yet.
But Philadelphia needs one more of their own, and if you're playing Wilson one-on-one, it's going to be hard to poke the ball away from him. We're back to full strength, and it's getting louder here at the Roy Wilkins Auditorium. Crowd noise amplified. Wilson and Pitts tangled up, and Minnesota, this may be all they need to do. Just keep the ball in the corner, and as long as it's not deemed obstructive, they can run out the clock that way.
That's what I was thinking, too. They got to take time off the clock.
Yeah, they might almost be better off doing that rather than trying to dump it and risking a turnover.
Pitts dumps it. That's not going to be enough to glide in for a goal as Wilson directs the puck away. In Philadelphia, I don't think they're going to pull the goalie here. Not with Minnesota's potent attack.
Yeah, not quite yet. I think you're going to see, it's going to be under 1 minute, I think, when they pull their goalie. Way too early here with the 1:55 mark.
You also hear Philly chants.
Wilson, there's the trap. And Miller pokes the ball away, but Philadelphia cannot establish possession, and that's what they have to do here. Any goal from Minnesota should be the clincher. Wilson looking for it. Wrap around.
No, the net move first. I would say that's not a goal. Well, now we get conflicting calls. Your head official, Mike, I think is calling a goal, but the other guy's saying no. Well, now he agrees.
Tim Coleman says no. The side official said yes, but Coleman said no.
It looked for a moment like Tim Coleman was signaling goal, but changed his mind. I think that's a good call, though, because it looked like the net had moved before the puck crossed the line.
That would have been the killing blow. And we're going to have a timeout with 1:25 left in regulation. Philadelphia needs one more goal, but they have to find a way to get a possession of the ball. Winning the faceoff obviously is going to be key, and if they don't win, how do they get it away from Minnesota?
Yeah, this has got to be the point here. If you're Minnesota, you win the faceoff, you just get it to Chad Wilson and have him stick handle in the corner. Like I said, I think they're better off doing that rather than trying to dump the puck and risking a turnover and giving something to Philadelphia in transition. Here, if you're the power play, obviously, on the other hand, you got to win this face-off, because if you let Chad Wilson get the puck, he's at least going to waste 20 or 30 seconds on that clock.
Or in Philadelphia's case, they got to get the ball to Saxton.
Very true.
One thing's for sure, Chad Wilson is going to win the race for most goals in this tournament, unless we have some unforeseen barrage. He'll finish with 24 if the result holds. Jake Saxton would finish as the top point earner. He has 30 points, including the hat trick he scored today. And I would not be surprised if we see these two teams in 2 years at Philadelphia for Power Hockey Cup 2016.
And hopefully that game will be as good as this one if they do end up meeting in 2 years. This has been a great game to see.
An outstanding game to watch, too.
We'll have to see ultimately, though, if that 5-goal outburst by Minnesota is going to be too much to overcome. That might be the difference in the game, but Philadelphia has certainly done a good job fighting back.
Following the conclusion of this game, we will have an award presentation for our first and second place competitors.
And Mike, I believe we should have some interviews coming up as well, I believe.
Well, you've got the microphone. We can pull that off. Hold on to your hats, your seatbelts, anything that might come loose. Saxton has it. I don't think he's going to clear the defender, though, and he will not. He gets jammed up, and
Good
Wilson
job
pokes
there
it
by
away.
Josh Limmergren.
He's on a run. Miller trying to stick check. Wilson, that's off of D'Amico and out of play.
Oh, that one would have been the game right there. But going back to just a second ago, what a play by Josh Limmergren to come out of the crease and cut off Jake Saxton's angle. He would have had a break going down the other way, but just a tremendous read there by the Minnesota defenseman.
He had good anticipation on where Saxton was shooting.
1 minute remaining. No sense in defending right now. Philadelphia's got a bum forward. 40 seconds left. Wilson has it again. He will erase as much time as he can if he doesn't get a look.
That's exactly what he's doing. He's not even looking shot right now. He's just wasting time. This is a really good veteran play. And
he is one of the best stick handlers in the game. If they can't get the ball away from him, well, that's going to eat up more time.
That is just a tremendous play from Chad Wilson.
And Miller trying to wrap around, but that's going to eat up more time as well. Philadelphia, they can't establish an attack, and that should do it. Minnesota will win their third consecutive Power Hockey Cup championship. They hang on and survive a late Philadelphia charge. 5-4 is your final. And in an offensive showcase, it was stick handling that wins it for Minnesota. Chad Wilson, not only is he a great scorer, but he just demonstrated that he is the best stick handler in the Power Hockey Cup field.
Let's not overlook late game defense by Minnesota, especially with Wilson and Limmergren, that they kept Saxton from tying the game, as well as any chance of Philadelphia sending the game into overtime.
Philadelphia not getting any chance in the last minutes. And again, the stick handling of Wilson, a big reason for that. Philadelphia, a young group, but they will learn from this. And as I said, 2 years from now, they're going to have more experience under their belt. They had to fight through Calgary just to get here, and they made Minnesota put in a lot of grit for their third consecutive Power Hockey Cup championship.
Quite a finish to an outstanding week of power hockey in Minnesota, Mike.
Yeah, great finish out here, guys. And as you were saying, Howard, credit the defense of Minnesota in that third period, as they spent the majority of the time defending in the third period and did a good job not giving up many scoring chances outside of that power play. And boy, the last minute, Chad Wilson shows why he's a world-class player. A lot of guys might be thinking, hey, let's try to get one more goal and put this out of reach, but he did the smart thing, just stick handling and stick handling and stick handling. And when he finally got under pressure, he just dumped it in the other zone. He wasted at least 30 or 40 seconds doing that. Just a great play from the veteran, and that's what really won the game there in that last minute.
Say, Brett, do you see Chad Wilson being a Paralympian in the future?
I'm not sure what the rules are on that. I'm not quite sure what the situation is, at least internationally, in terms of power hockey being an Olympic sport. And I'm sure some of the fans maybe have more of a perspective on that.
Because it looks like he has the skills as well as the momentum and the attitude to be a Paralympian, depending on
Absolutely.
what sport is offered. That would be suited to his abilities.
You got it.
You were highlighting defense. Minnesota did not score in the third period. Philadelphia got one, but it was not enough. And Philadelphia will learn from this experience, as we mentioned before. It's just tough when you give up so many goals. And they were just looking lackadaisical, disorganized, in disarray. And they got themselves composed, but by that time, Minnesota inflicted enough damage and held on to win the Power Hockey Cup championship. But as we've said, Philadelphia hosting in 2 years, they demonstrated their commitment, their allegiance to electric wheelchair hockey, and I think they will make a very deserving host in 2016. But the glory in 2014 goes to the Minnesota Saints, your three-time Power Hockey Cup champions. Chad Wilson, what an emotional tournament for him. He finishes as the top scorer. He had his brother away from Minnesota on military duty, coming back with a reunification yesterday that Chad Wilson took very strongly, a very emotional moment for him. And now he gets to hoist a trophy in front of his brother and these fans and all of you watching on Ustream. And we certainly appreciate your support. The Philadelphia fans were phenomenal, very enthusiastic. It was great to converse with them on Twitter. Hopefully I'll be able to see some of them in person at some point. And Minnesota, they had to fight through a lot of scares. Remember, the Michigan Mustangs nearly sent them packing in the quarterfinal round. Let's throw it to the floor for the trophy presentation.
The Assistant Commissioner of the Minnesota Power Hockey League and first runner-up to Ms. Wheelchair USA, Ms. Wheelchair Minnesota USA 2014, Jen Anson.
I'm just saying, you line up each time.
First award is the chief staff.
I'm just saying it'd be easier for us to fill up dead time. Because if we have the microphones up here,
and the award for the best coaching staff goes to the Philadelphia PowerPlay. Now, the award for best goalie, representing Next, the best offensive player, representing the Philadelphia PowerPlay, Jake Sexton. Now, the best defensive player, representing the top Toronto Lake Raiders, Megan Hines. And the best defensive forward player, representing the Philadelphia PowerPlay, Alex Pitts. Next, the best newcomer, representing the Michigan Mustangs, Kristen Perrin.
But the guy he replaced still doing Sunday Night Football, Al Michaels. Oh, yeah. He replaced Al Michaels with the
Now, your silver medalist, the Philadelphia PowerPlay.
His son Tom does it. Oh, yeah. As well as football and baseball. Yeah, Tom works for national.
Correction, next up, the best sportsmanship award, representing the Carolina Fury, Jonathan Greason. Now it's time for your silver medal team, the Philadelphia PowerPlay. Beginning with Michelle Boardman. Anthony D'Amico.
White Sox are up 4-0.
Aaron Gordon.
Next week at Orange is going to Sugarland Skiers.
Oh, really?
Part of the Sabre Convention.
Oh, okay.
Constellation Field.
Assistant Captain Jake Hartline.
State of Texas.
Has Point ever hosted a hockey game, or is this only a basketball?
Peter Hinkle.
Auditorium.
Pat Hilferty.
This is where I saw the Fighting Saints for the first time. Yeah, that's before the Civic Center was built.
Lou Gomez.
1972. Up here. 3 months.
Captain Liam Miller.
The Old World Hockey Association. Marty Gordon playing for the Houston Aeros.
Alex Pitts.
Gary Saxton.
Assistant Captain Jake Saxton. And Bryce Smith.
We gotta do this stuff for our own.
And their coaches, Tony DeVito and Gary Saxton. And now, presenting your tournament MVP,
Let's play tomorrow.
Jake Saxton from Philadelphia PowerPlay.
We got the most points.
He's amazing. I don't mean to be a broken record.
Saxon got 30, Wilson at 27. That's points, goals and assists.
I wonder if there's an article on him in the Philadelphia Inquirer.
Oh, there might be. You're probably not going to believe I have cerebral.
And now, presenting your championship game MVP,
I remember going to Philadelphia last summer.
Sarah Hines from the Minnesota State.
One of my favorite cities. So much history.
I have that too.
Look at this place. It's big European sports and history.
Swish. Threes. Rain of threes.
I climbed the rocky steps.
Nice.
It's good exercise. But it's very
And now, for your three-time PowerHockeyCup champions, the Minnesota Saints. Beginning with Ben Hafner. Josh Swimmerman. Sarah Hines. Jacob Holmquist. Sydney Hughley. Dan Hughley.
That's one thing you never pretty much overlook, the fact that it's two Hugleys.
Joe Hughley.
Their pitching is solid. As well as their lineup. With Roach, Desmond, Rendon, Zimmerman, Span, I really think this is the year Washington's going to be in the World Series.
And Christina again.
I also picked Toronto.
And their coaches, Josh Holler and Brian Little.
Last year, Reyes got hurt. This year, Batista, Encarnacion.
And now we present Minnesota Saints with the Power Hockey Cup.
Well, guys, that was quite the ceremony. Why don't we get your thoughts here as we wait for our guests to come over here. We're going to try to get a word with Saxton and Wilson, but now that you've had a chance to soak in all of this, what is your impression of the Power Hockey Cup tournament?
Definitely between the two best teams in this tournament, Philadelphia and Minnesota, and a couple of outstanding adapted athletes in Chad Wilson of Minnesota and Jake Saxton of Philadelphia. I'll tell you this, Jake Saxton at 11 years old is really amazing. Is he a prodigy, or does he have naturally gifted athletic talent for a wheelchair athlete?
I think he's got it's a little bit of both. He's a great young player. He's going to be great for many more years, as is the rest of this Philadelphia team, as they should definitely make a run coming up in 2 years when they'll be hosting the tournament. And you almost get the feeling here that the Minnesota Saints and Philadelphia PowerPlay could end up meeting in many more of these tournament finals. It's 2014 right now. Who knows? They might end up meeting again in the 2024 final and any time in between that as well.
It all depends on who returns for the 2016 Power Cup.
Exactly. Well, we should be getting some interviews, I think, pretty quick here. Mike, I think we have someone trying to go down there to grab Jake Saxton and also, of course, Chad Wilson, the star of the Minnesota Saints team. And interesting to hear from those two guys, especially Chad Wilson kind of figuring out that strategy defensively at the end that really seemed to bottle up Philadelphia, especially during those last 2 minutes of the game.
And while we wait for our interviews, how about your studio partners tonight? The Big Blue Machine and Roddy Hart.
Yeah, Dina Levis, Roddy Hart. I know they were kind of pulling for Philadelphia at the end there, but and not really anything against Minnesota. I think you always kind of cheer for the underdog once you get to these games, and I know they thought it was a good game. We're excited to watch it, and it was a great finish. I know they were excited to watch it at the end, as well as the rest of the players that were up here on the balcony watching the end of the game. Had, I think, just about every team represented here watching the finals, and it made for a great atmosphere with, what, 400 or 500 people in the Roy Wilkins Auditorium watching this championship game.
So you all have travel plans in 2 years from now when Philadelphia hosts this event, right?
Well, we shall see.
Who knows?
By that time, you'll have amassed a giant media empire. I know you, Brett, you have your company, and Howard will become a world-class commentator, and you probably become too big for this.
That's right.
But Philadelphia is a great city, not just because of the historic sites and the history with the city's sports teams, but one great place to check out is the Reading Terminal Market. It's probably one of the largest food courts you'll ever see.
It'll be a fun time in 2 years, and hey, if we don't make it, I'm sure we can watch the games online. They'd certainly be very entertaining.
This year's version proved quite entertaining, and maybe we'll come back here at Roy Wilkins. This is a nice venue to host your event in, because I think you mentioned the last couple of years, the last couple of instances where Minnesota hosted, it was at Augsburg College in Minneapolis. And this, I'd say, is a little more welcoming or a little more prestigious.
That's a little bit more of a traditional sports venue as compared to having it into a college or high school gym. This kind of gives you the feeling that you're at a big event when you have a big concourse area up above us and kind of a cavernous building that still has an intimate feel once you get all the chairs down here. Definitely makes for a good atmosphere, makes it feel like a big tournament.
And you mentioned the future of this sport. Where do you see this sport growing? I mean, it's like any other event. Lacrosse has been catching on the last few years. Soccer has gained massive popularity. It will take time, and even the WNBA is reaching out to its followers. Where and how do you see electric wheelchair hockey growing? I mean, we had 400 people here, which is a pretty nice crowd, but every sport has the potential to bring in more fans, bring in more participation, and it will be interesting to see how this sport evolves.
I think it's a sport that does have tremendous growth potential because you don't need a lot of equipment except for, of course, a wheelchair, and you don't have to have a lot of people to put on a team.
As Philadelphia and Minnesota proved, I mean, Philadelphia got here basically with one line. They switched goalies at the end, and D'Amico did not allow a goal when he came in, and you could get into all of the what-ifs. What if we put him in earlier? Aaron Gordon was their primary, and what if we did this and that? But you build character by going through adversity, and that's what Philadelphia did tonight. And Brett, you see this sport having avenues for growth in the next few years?
I'm not too familiar with the sport, but as with anything, just keep getting the participation numbers up, get more teams around the country. And North America can certainly help out in terms of the growth of the sport.
We're waiting to get some pictures here.
I heard from Mike York that some of the Minnesota Saints guys are drinking some champagne out of that
I
cup.
saw a champagne bottle pop. The cork was released from its grip.
So maybe down there, Mr. Mike Peden, you might get a close-up of that cup.
I already did for a different team. I still remember the champagne shower from the Minnesota Lynx Championship last fall. I don't know if it's quite as crazy here, but it's always glorifying to drink from the champagne bottle. Well, I suppose Minnesota was able to do it. Had Philadelphia won, we would have had to go with sparkling juice, maybe Coke. Well, we've got a bunch of Coke products here. And we're trying to get Chad Wilson over here, but there's a sea of wheelchairs. We have to get them cleared out. And while we do that,
He's behind you.
I noticed, so I have to take off the headset so I can get out to him. And so we've got to work our way around this traffic jam. While we do, we want to mention, we want to thank Mike York for putting this on. I don't know what you have going on next, but
nothing going on except for, editing and doing stuff with PSB. They're a great company. You should watch their stuff too.
We'll be traveling actually into going to Chicago. Speaking of championships, we'll be doing a women's football championship. I guess if we're going to sneak in a plug and getting some new stuff. And I see Wilson and Saxton, they're getting some pictures, so we are waiting for them to get over here. And so I'll walk forward, and that'll give you a chance to see the bald spot in my head. Let's see if we can get Hey, can we get Jake? Jake! We get you. Let's get you and Chad here together because you two played outstanding throughout this tournament. You both deserve recognition for it. I'm going to get over here. We're going to get lined up, and I believe we are in position. So, Chad, we're going to start with you. The top goal scorer in this tournament, but it was your stick handling in the third period that won your third consecutive Power Hockey Cup. How did you make that shift from offense to defense?
Well, they were really putting the pressure on with their speed, and my chair was kind of slowing a bit, so really defense is what I had to resort to because I didn't feel like I had the speed to get back and cover these guys if I went all the way down low, so I had to change my strategy a little bit to combat the chair. How tense was it? You scored 5 goals in a row, and then Philadelphia scores 3 in a row. All of a sudden, 5-1 becomes 5-4, and you have to sweat through about 8 minutes in a 1-goal game. Well, I was telling Matt and Josh, I said, boys, we can't let them do it again. They had their miracle yesterday. We can't let them do it again. We know it hasn't. We knew they weren't going to quit. So, you know, and what helped us is we had experience. We've been here before. I mean, we had a 1-goal game to beat the Mustangs last Cup. So I think that helped us a lot. What does it mean to get championship number 3 in this event in your home territory? Yeah, to win at home, that's great. I mean, to have all my friends and family here was a pretty amazing feeling. Because the first 2 were out of state, so it was definitely a different feeling, and I definitely don't get tired of being able to raise that cup. So it was a great tournament. How emotional was it for you not only to win this in front of the home fans, but also in front of your brother who was away and you managed to reunite with you yesterday after you scored 7 goals in the game against Ottawa? What were your feelings at that point? It just made it that much sweeter knowing, you know, somebody I'm very close to was there. So. And tell me about the. Overall, you mentioned this tournament having to sweat through a couple of scares, and what are you looking forward to as you move on to 2016? That's a long ways off now. I just want to go enjoy the cup we won, and then we'll examine that later. Maybe I can get a chair that will hold up a little bit better, but other than that, I haven't really thought that far ahead. That's a while away still. So. What were you thinking when you noticed your chair was starting to give out? Well, over the years, I've kind of understood that it does that, so I've gotten a lot better with not letting it really get into my head. It's just knowing to, you know, have that much more space on defense and not get stuck too deep. So. And what advice would you have to Jake and maybe the folks at Philadelphia, since they're going to host it 2 years from now after playing a tournament in your home base? I would say just keep improving like you guys have. I mean, from this tournament, from the last tournament to this, you guys are amazing. And I keep telling my team we got to beat them this tournament because we're probably never going to beat them any tournament after. So I'd say keep doing what you're doing, man. All right, you stay here for a moment. We'll get back to you shortly here. Let's go over to Jake. You finished as the top offensive player and getting the tournament MVP. How does that feel for you?
It felt awesome because we didn't win the cup, so it felt good to at least get something out of it.
Well, you made Minnesota sweat for it, and your grit showed throughout. We talked to you last night about that exciting win over Calgary, and then 5-1 game. We were thinking Minnesota was about to go on a rout. You made a change at goalie, and then you went on a surge, 3 goals in a row. How did you fight back?
Well, after the second period, we said we can pull off another miracle here if we keep trying, and then so we just fought hard and got 3 goals and just kept fighting. I saw you and Chad were actually conversing with each other beforehand. I don't know if there's anything you can share from that discussion, but what was it like getting to know him and basically getting to know the top 2 players in this tournament and finding out what attracts you to the sport? It was awesome getting to know Chad because then I would know that he would know me, and we wouldn't just be like strangers playing out there. And what do you think the reaction is going to be like at Philadelphia, considering what you've been able to pull off at 11 years old? Well, I think that it's going to be very exciting, and a lot of people are probably going to come, and it's going to be an awesome tournament in 2016. Now, if you managed to win this thing, did you think that everyone else, including myself, would start to feel really old? No. No, not at all. Look at Chad over. I mean, if he won that thing, you're 14 years older, and you're seeing this kid do all this stuff. Definitely makes me feel old, so. Your thoughts, Jake? No, I don't think you guys think you'll get old because we're just having fun playing the game.
So what are you looking forward to most, knowing that you're going to host this event in 2 years?
I'm looking forward most to not driving that far.
So you're already planning on driving in 2 years?
Probably because it's going to be in Philadelphia and we're really close to the city. And I'm looking forward to hopefully win the Power Hockey Cup in 2 years too.
And for the two of you, obviously this championship may have some sway in it, but what was your favorite moment of this tournament, whether it's this game or pool play, just anything that stood out to you that made 2014 special? We'll start with you, Jake.
What made me special was that we got to the championship game and our team scored. We tried our best to stop Minnesota, and that's all that matters, that we tried to.
And you also hold the distinction for the highest scoring game with that 10-7 victory over the Selects. And let's go over to Chad here and get his favorite memory from the tournament.
My favorite memory was definitely having my goalie, Sarah Heinz, win that final championship game MVP. I mean, because she's always backed. I don't think she gets the recognition she deserves, so it's just nice to see her finally get that.
And I know we've posed this question to you, Jake, a couple of times, but is there anyone you want to say hi to one more time before you head back to Philadelphia?
Yes. Well, my Nana, Nono, Grandma, Papa, and my 3 friends, Dan, Patrick, and Garrett. And thank you for watching this tournament. I really appreciate it.
And what's the conversation going to be like between father and son as you celebrate and get to reflect on this?
I'm not sure. Seriously, I'm really not sure what we're going to talk about. We'll probably just say good job, and we'll try our best in 2 years and hopefully bring it home in 2 years too.
Chad, who would you like to say hi to?
You know, I'm lucky enough to have basically everyone I want to say hi to is here, so I'm pretty excited to just say hi to all these people back here.
Well, see if you can get a little more of a social media following. We got a bunch of Philadelphia fans in our broadcast, but none from Minnesota. It was looking like a one-sided affair. But most of them were probably here, of course.
Exactly, but I'll make sure I get on that for the next tournament, make sure people are on top of that.
Yes, we want to hear from the Minnesota fans because they were out in full force. It was feeling very festive in that last period.
Yep. But yeah, they're always that cowbell. I love hearing that cowbell. That means we scored, and it's good fun.
Got to have more cowbell.
Yep.
Well, thank you very much. Congratulations on a fine tournament. Congrats on the victory, Chad. And Jake, you have a bright future ahead of you. Hopefully we'll be around in 2 years to see you two guys, but it's a well-deserved victory, and a well-deserved celebration is coming your way.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That wraps up our coverage from here. Thank you for watching Power Hockey Cup 2014. Minnesota Saints beat Philadelphia 5-4 for their 3rd consecutive Power Hockey Cup championship. For Brett Johnson and Howard Uloff and everyone else here on our crew at Ustream, I'm Mike Beaton. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in 2 years. That was a heck of a game.
Got some great hardware there, man. Great game, too.
Thank you very much, Jake. Congrats on making me feel under-accomplished in my youth. I did not have any of those trophies when I was 11 years old. My best claim to fame was a spelling bee championship in 6th grade, but nothing like this. But thanks again, and hopefully you get a welcome celebration, because you had a lot of folks cheering you on throughout the event. So.
And thank you for doing this too.
Oh yes.
It goes right by my house.
I figured out the number 9 bus goes